Max Blumenthal.
Thank you, and
And
something else. Are you ready to march? All right, I was just going to thank the organizers for making me go after Rebel Diaz. It's like a pretty hard act to follow. I'm not going to spit any rhymes, I'm just a journalist. Well, I'll do my best. You know, I am not objective, and neither are the journalists up in the Reuters Thompson building, at the Time Warner building, at the 30 Rock MSDNC building. They're not objective either. They just, you know, they have their little blue check marks on Twitter and their suits, but really you could just basically automate them with a automatic Wall Street and War Machine generation reporter bot. We want to do something different at the Grayzone Project. At the Grayzone, what we're trying to do is counter one of the most sophisticated and vicious information wars being waged against the minds of the Western public to cultivate support for destructive regime change wars that destroy any independent state. And what we have done is go to the ground in these countries that have been targeted for regime change and show another side, and show the people who are demonized and who are lumped in a racist way with the official enemy dictator. So we've been this year to Nicaragua, we've been to Venezuela, we just returned from Syria, and I'm tired as hell, as you can tell. And we were also in Honduras, a country where a US regime change operation succeeded. Let me talk about these countries a little bit. And she says don't go too long. We're gonna march. But let me talk about these countries a little bit and tie it in to the climate issue. You know, we're quality, not quantity here. This is like the anti-war movement. This is the woke people who've been red-pilled. You had like 250,000 people yesterday, no mention of militarism or regime change and the role that it has played in the destroying the environment. So we have to educate them. There were 3 countries that did not sign on to the Paris Protocol. China, you know, somebody might call them petro-populists or something. They are trying to build an economy basically from scratch and lift millions of people out of poverty into the middle class. So they didn't sign on to it. Then there's Nicaragua and Syria. Why didn't they sign on? Nicaragua and Syria. You look up, you know, any report on this, and you'll see, you know, you'll see NPR. You know, the evil dictator countries did not sign on to the Paris Protocol Accord. Nicaragua didn't sign on because Nicaragua faces the direct brunt of climate change with hurricanes every year, and they considered it a band-aid solution that was too weak, and the elected Sandinista government, led by Daniel Ortega, is putting in place some of the most advanced mechanisms for preparing their country and their population with food sovereignty, with shelter for the effects of climate change, and so they didn't sign on. Then there's Syria. Syria didn't sign on. Why? Because our government spent billions of dollars to arm and train 31 flavors of Takfiri, Wahhabi, Contras to devastate that country, and we saw what they did and talked to people who lived under their rule, and they were promoted to us as moderate rebels, as freedom fighters. Syria could not implement the Paris protocols because the state was under direct attack. So this is the issue. If you don't have independent states, states get taken over. Nicaragua, a year later, faced a regime change attempt, and some of our lefty friends supported it. I don't understand why. They supported the overthrow of the Sandinista government with an opposition funded by big agro like Cargill. The Sandinistas and the Nicaraguan people resisted, and they're continuing on their path to independence and environmental sustainability that goes well beyond what the EU and the US are willing to do. And can we not forget about Brazil, where we saw another regime change operation, where Lula da Silva is now in prison for a phony corruption scandal, and Dilma Rousseff was ousted in a parliamentary coup, and as a result, under the watch of Jair Bolsonaro, a far-right proto-fascist, the Amazon burned like it had never burned before. And I don't know what Extinction Rebellion was doing protesting the Bolivian embassy. They should have stuck to the Brazilian embassy. Get your head right. We went to Honduras too, and I'm gonna wrap up here. Because Honduras it's so important that we know what's happening in that country, where a coup took out its democratically elected leader, Manuel Zelaya, in 2009, presided over by Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, and installed a right-wing junta, now led by someone who is accused in a New York federal court of narco-trafficking, Juan Orlando Hernandez, who still, despite bringing bags of cocaine marked with his brother Tony's initials into the U.S., gets to come and visit Washington and meet with the Department of Homeland Security. Honduras has seen some of the worst attacks on environmental defenders, and many of you know the name Berta Cáceres. We were able to go to the home that Berta Cáceres was raised. We've just posted an interview that Anya conducted with Berta's mother. They are living under 24-hour police guard paid for by human rights groups. They travel around in armored cars. There are cameras around their house. They are under threat. Berta is from the Lenca indigenous group and defended her river and her land and went around the world denouncing not just climate change and making these empty calls to save the planet, denouncing the effect of capitalism and regime change and the policies advanced by Hillary Clinton on her country, and she was cut down, killed in 2016 by a death squad hired by a multinational corporation building a hydroelectric dam in her community, a hydroelectric dam that would have never been possible without this regime change operation. So it's our responsibility as people who care about this planet and the people in the planet, and who care about man-made disasters like the famine in Yemen, caused by our government and Saudi Arabia, our woke ally, Mohammed bin Salman. It's our obligation to stand against regime change wars, phony color revolutions, and the corporate media's information war that they're waging on our minds. We have to be the teachers. We have to tell people how this is connected to the destruction of the planet. Thank you.